The one thing that's probably been the most consistent thing when you look at this last generation with the PS4 and the Xbox One is that a lot of people and media types have criticized the decisions that Xbox was making. It was almost a surefire thing to make fun of or question any type of decision that Xbox was making with their platform. And when you look at 2013 and a lot of those decisions that were made, the criticism was almost warranted. Yet over the last several years, Xbox has done a very good job in making gamers trust the brand again. For what seems like a very long time, Xbox has really turned over the company and the brand in general. From the new studios they bought to the crazy decisions to support all accessories on the next generation consoles, everything that's been done on the Xbox platform has the gamer at the center. They've talked about this and have said that the one thing they always want to put first is the gamer. And because of this, I truly feel that Xbox and Phil Spencer have really shut down the critics when it comes to the decisions they've made. And one of those decisions revolves around the Xbox Series S and the X consoles, because it would seem that a lot of people and even developers have been questioning the Xbox Series S console and what it means for development time. Not to mention if this new lower powered console will affect game design when it comes to developers trying to match each SKU for the Xbox platform. This new narrative has been going around lately saying that the Xbox Series S console is irrelevant and that people don't want that console, even though it's a very capable machine and has the best price tag out of any next generation console. So it would seem that Phil Spencer has been paying attention and knows the concerns going around the gaming world. So he wanted to talk about the next generation Series S console and give some insight on what the console actually means for the gaming world, but also give us more information that shows that the new console is not just for developers, but for gamers and to expand the gaming market. He also admits certain workloads on the developers when it comes to having multiple consoles. Yet at the end of the day, he talks about it being a great piece of hardware and how it's not as big of a problem as people say. All in all, it's a pretty great interview, and it's an even better response from Phil Spencer, who continues to be the most transparent executive in all of gaming. So let's get into this interview and see how Phil Spencer himself silences pretty much every critic that had something negative to say about the Xbox Series S console. But first, like always, if you liked the video, hit that subscribe button and that like button. The support is greatly appreciated. Alright, so let's get into this interview with Phil Spencer where he talks about the reason they made the Xbox Series S console, but what they expect from the console and how they think it will be the top selling hardware for the Xbox platform next generation. Because we have to remember, everyone, the main reason any company makes a product is because they want to make money from it. That's why Sony and Microsoft made the PS5 and the Xbox consoles, because those will bring money into their company. And while Sony is bringing out two consoles this generation, the only difference between the two is a disc drive and of course $100. But from a spec perspective, they're identical. That can't be said for Xbox, the two consoles they're bringing out, which the article brings up here. For many people aware of the coming generation of consoles, the Xbox Series X is Microsoft's main offering. It's the device Microsoft showed when it began revealing its next-gen vision at the Game Awards last December. It's a $500 box with loaded specs, the kind of device we'd expect Microsoft or Sony to promote as the start of a new era of gaming. It's also the only next-gen Xbox anyone had officially known about through most of 2020. Unofficially is another story. The $300 Xbox Series S is the twist. It's a smaller, cheaper unit priced like a new Nintendo console, which tend to be innovative but underpowered. Microsoft boasts that the Series S will run cutting-edge games at high frame rates, though not in 4K like the Series X. And unlike the Series X, it doesn't have a disk drive and comes with 512 gigabytes of storage compared to the X's 1 terabyte. It's a big step up from the main Xbox One on the market now, but it's certainly a stripped-down Series X. It was only officially announced a month ago. So if you've paid attention to the gaming world for the last year or so, you know that the Xbox Series X is the main console for the Xbox platform. It will have cutting-edge technology in it, and it will be the most powerful console on the market bar none. And while that's going to be the main console for a little while because a lot of the hardcore gamers will be buying it, it's not the console that Phil Spencer and Xbox think will dominate the sales numbers as the generation goes by, which the article points out here. At launch, Spencer expects the X to be the hotter seller, driven by the kinds of early adopters who snatch new consoles. Though he also noted that demand for the new Xboxes and the other new November console, the PlayStation 5, will cause everything to fly off the store shelves in the early going. I think we'll sell every unit of both of them that we can deliver, he said, referring to the first holiday season. Microsoft isn't releasing estimates of how many units they'll ship of either device this year, but he expects them to go fast. I think demand is just going to outstrip supply of pre-orders for us and PlayStation. I think that the manufacturing supply chain is going to dictate market share more than anything else. So like the article says here, they believe that the Series X will sell a lot more units when the consoles initially release. And I have a feeling that they have a lot of numbers and statistics to back this idea up, especially when they've released multiple consoles this last generation. And not just any consoles, they've specifically released an Xbox One S, which was a lower powered console, but redesigned to get that huge Xbox One console out of store shelves. After that, they released the Xbox One X console, which is a very capable piece of hardware and is running a lot of games at 4K resolution and 30 FPS, and some of them at 60 FPS. Basically what happened, Xbox test ran their next generation idea during this generation and understood that there is a massive market for both a hardcore performance console, but also a cheaper version of a console that will run the same games just at a lower fidelity. And that less powerful console will sell more than the more powerful console as the generation goes on, which Phil Spencer says here. I think over the generation, our expectation would be that price really matters and that you would see the Series S sell more. Now, the price of the consoles has really been something that most people wanted to know about. It's a deciding factor for anyone, and I mean anyone going to a store with the idea of buying a gaming console. Because let's be honest with ourselves, while gaming is the best hobby in the world, it's still a little expensive. So when someone goes to a store to buy a console, they're given plenty of options and they can decide which console they want. The biggest difference is that a lot of casual gamers will have the option of joining the next generation at a much lower price than previous generations. It's something that Phil Spencer and Xbox are going to capitalize. And I have a feeling their test of the Xbox One S and the all-digital Xbox One console this generation helped them decide on the Series S console. Yet now both consoles will only offer in graphic fidelity, not performance. And that's a huge departure from this generation, and it also makes the Series X console far more appealing, which Phil Spencer says here. He's also the first person I've spoken to who has both units, so I asked him to compare them. Acknowledging that he's hugely biased about this stuff, being honest, the Series S has surprised me in terms of how it performs, he said, raving about its frame rates and loading times. While Spencer didn't share stats, one helpful reference point is Xbox Series S/X launch game The Falconeer. That game's indie developer says it will run at 60 FPS in 1800p, not a typo, resolution on the Series S, and at 60 FPS in 4K on the Series X. And here's a surprise, Spencer says some games load faster on his S than his X because they're loading lower res graphics. So the first thing I want to say is that the Series S is playing games at 1800p or 1440p at 60 FPS or even 120 FPS. And most people have questioned that, which of course they would, because the price of the consoles is insane. Well, the way that it's all balanced is that the Series S has a less powerful GPU which handles a lot of the graphical fidelity of a game. And because of that, games come in at a lower resolution or lower fidelity. But the great thing that Xbox did was push the performance on both of their consoles. What that means is that the CPU on the console is equal to the one on the Series X console. So we never have to worry about the performance of a game, and that will match the performance on the Series X, which helps developers far more. But again, there is a power difference, and it's something that the article brings up to Phil Spencer. There is nevertheless a real power difference between these two new Xboxes that has worried some developers who have cited the Series S's deficiency in RAM 10GB to the Series X's 16GB as a hindrance to getting next-gen Xbox games to perform as well as the X's specs should allow them to. I've heard from experienced developers who are split on this issue. I'm not worried, Spencer said. I think we have proof points, like we've said on PC, that show you can get absolutely amazing looking games on great hardware and have those games scale to the hardware capability. He acknowledged the additional labor that is being put on developers to design for the S and X's specs, but absolutely it is work. There's no doubt about that. The fact that you have two performance specs now, I'm not going to stand here or try to PR somebody and say two different specs is the same as having one spec. It's not. We're doing this because we want to expand the market. And this is where a lot of the critics that have questioned Xbox's methods with their approach to next generation have to realize. Xbox has done the research with these two consoles, and they've worked hand in hand with the developers to make sure that the two consoles can be supported for the entire generation. And they're using PC as the way of doing that. Because for years and years, PC has done this, and they haven't had any trouble with development. It's why Phil Spencer brings up PC and how it's absolutely possible to get great looking games on great hardware. And I'm glad he said this, because the biggest thing people need to to understand is that Xbox made these consoles almost identical from every aspect minus the RAM and the GPU. Everything else like the CPU and the storage with the SSD is going to match each other on both consoles, and it's why the performance won't be altered by developers. Yet the thing that's most easily scalable, which is the graphic fidelity, will be. But like I said earlier, the main thing with these companies is they want to make money, and expanding the market is the main way of doing that, which the article says here. Expanding the market is a reference to simply selling more next-gen consoles faster because the machine doesn't cost a full $500. Even Sony is dabbing with that, offering the new PS5 at $500, but also launching a $400 version that has the same specs but won't have a disk drive. Microsoft's approach is more radical. The company's gambling that the power cut isn't as significant as the much lower price. In fact, Spencer said that the Series S could be an effective lure for lapsed Xbox 360 fans who may have skipped the Xbox One or even switched to the PlayStation. Even if they go buy a PS5, he thinks the Series S might offer some appeal. Maybe buying two $500 consoles is going to be a difficult thing, so we said, hey, let's make sure we've got something to catch a second console owner. So there you have it, everyone. Xbox is not only trying to just grab the current Xbox owners back. No, a lot of those people will come to the Xbox Series X easily. It's the other people that might not have upgraded from the Xbox 360, or it's the people that are on the PS4 ecosystem and don't have an Xbox console. The Series S is great for those gamers who might purchase a cheaper console that will get them into the Xbox ecosystem. Will this strategy work out for Xbox and Microsoft? Who knows, but from where I'm sitting, I can see the appeal of a $300 next-generation console that can run and play all new titles, including the massive first-party library that Xbox is building up. So don't be surprised if the Series S does outsell the Series X as the generation goes on. And don't be surprised if during holiday season, the Series S outsells a lot of its competitors, because everything we've seen so far has shown that Xbox knows what they're doing on marketing-wise and how to make money, because that's just what Microsoft does. But enough of what I think about this. Tell me what you think about all this. Do you agree with what Phil Spencer had to say? Will you be buying both the Series X and the Series S? Does this silence a lot of the critics when it comes to Xbox? Is Xbox trying to win next generation? What can Sony do to combat the Series S price? Do you think this will cause problems for developers? What console appeals to you more? Go down below and let me know. And I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please hit that subscribe button and that like button. The support helps out the channel more than you know. And give me a follow on Twitter at Zalker87. I'm always on there talking games and sharing my latest videos. Plus, I love interacting with everyone there, so get on Twitter and let's talk about gaming. Also, follow me on Xbox Live. My gamer tag is Zalker87, just like my channel name. See what games I'm playing, and let's compete in achievements for the month. Right now, I'm playing Dishonored 2. I just had a great time playing that last night. Man, that game is so brutal. I was taking people out, cutting heads off, cutting arms off, legs. It was just extreme, and I was having a lot of fun. Moving around and assassinating people is a lot of fun. I really recommend people check this game out. Again, it's on Game Pass. Just go check it out. But tell me what you're playing. I want to know what everybody's playing. Go down below. Are you playing something fun? Are you going through your backlog? Or are you just waiting for the next games to come out, which are just around the corner? We got Watch Dogs, Assassin's Creed, Cyberpunk. There's a lot of new games coming out in the next couple weeks, and I'm excited. And that's all for now. Thanks for watching, and until next time, remember, enjoy your gaming. Later.